How would you view the Democratic Party today as compared to where it was maybe 20 years ago, 10 years ago?
There's some major differences, particularly on issues of war.
Very pro-war.
Yeah.
It almost flipped from where it was 20 years ago.
I'm sorry, go ahead, George.
I was just going to say it almost flipped from where it was 20 years ago.
Right, it did.
I remember there was nothing but criticism for Afghanistan and Iraq on the Daily Show. And all
but then Obama got elected and they stopped caring.
Well, it wasn't just Obama. Let me just say that, I have personal experience in this. I mean, I led the effort in organizing votes against the war in Iraq. And we had 125 Democrats who voted against the war. The party has changed, and I think it's a number of reasons why. There's a Democrat in the White House. That Democrat has been a hawk for a good part of his entire career, and there's less and less competition among defense industries, and the defense industry is the juggernaut that Eisenhower warned about when he said, beware of the military-industrial complex. We're there right now. Mm-hmm. And so they basically have control of the White House and the Congress. It's been ever thus that the Democratic Party, and I think it's probably true of the Republicans as well, if you have the White House, the leadership of the House will generally follow whatever the president wants. So this is a problem because the political parties there's people in both parties who are favoring war now, and it's very dangerous for this country. Very dangerous.
So you noticed a conglomeration, or I guess, of military-industrial complex. They were buying each other out and consolidating.
Yeah, it's happened. There used to be multiple people in the defense industry competing. Now they keep on getting smaller and smaller. I'll tell you what's happening. They're jacking up the price of war materiel, and as a result, the taxpayers are paying more and more and more, and getting less and less and less. When I got to Congress in '97, we had a hearing with the Inspector General on the committee I was on, the government reform. And at that point, they said that the Pentagon had over $1 trillion in accounts they hadn't reconciled. I found out that the Pentagon, according to this report that we were given, had over 1,100 different accounting systems. And it's set so nobody knows what's going on. So the money's stolen. The American people are getting hosed by this system, which takes their money. We now spend about $1 trillion for preparing for war. The actual Pentagon plus intelligence, and we're driving our country into debt. We're in a sense in a position where they create wars to justify their existence. This is insane, really. And there again, when you have when you have endless wars, or you participate surreptitiously in war, you start to You sow the seeds of the destruction of a nation. I mean, you look at the history of ancient Rome. We're repeating the same things. Empire, 800 bases, at least, around the world. Intelligence operatives everywhere. Dictating policy in one place and another. That's not what America was supposed to be about.
Yeah, I feel like they use the liberal economic order, which, the military-industrial, 1949, they set it up, and they used the United States as the figurehead because it was the greatest and the wealthiest country on earth.
The reason we were destroyed after World War II.
We weren't destroyed. We were still powerful, but also because of the ethics of the state allowed us to become the most powerful, quickest, pivoting, moving, awesome place. But it's not built to be a war machine. It's a liberal... It's supposed to be a place of thoughts and ideas, and it became this place of like power and destruction in a lot of ways and control. And now that's why it's faltering. These ideals don't function with militaristic autocracy.
I want to read something, if I may.
Yeah.
This is from a book called The Sorrows of Empire, Militarism, Secrecy, and the End of the Republic by Chalmers Johnson, who was also the author of Blowback. Now, listen to this. This is this is something that I look at often. I wanted to share with you, Tim, and I appreciate the opportunity to do it. Hold on, let me just get these glasses here.
Oh yeah, through the headphones.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Chalmers Johnson writes, in my opinion, this is a quote, the growth of militarism, official secrecy, and a belief that the United States is no longer bound, as the Declaration of Independence so famously puts it, quote, by a decent respect for the opinions of mankind, is probably irreversible. So he's saying this growth of militarism, official secrecy is irreversible. A revolution would be required to bring the Pentagon back under democratic control, or to abolish the Central Intelligence Agency, or even to contemplate enforcing Article 1, Section 9, Clause 7 of the Constitution, which says no money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in consequence of appropriations made by law, and a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. So, what's happening is the people are largely unaware of how their money's being spent. It's being generally wasted or stolen. And I'll give you an example. During the Iraq War, the Coalition Provisional Authority needed money to run their operation. A call was made to the Philadelphia Mint, who printed $10 billion in $100 bills, shrink-wrapped into bundles of $75,000 each, put on skids, and sent to the Coalition Provisional Authority in Baghdad. $10 billion disappeared. I mean, this is, the money. It's like,
well, we're hearing the same thing with Ukraine now, that large portions of the money sent over there is unaccounted for.
Well, General Smedley Butler said,
"That's my dude. Let's talk about the business plot. Go."
Yeah. He said war is a racket, and it is a racket, and it's a racket which takes the tax dollars of the American people and just blows it. People, make out like bandits who are either in the defense industry or they just stuff the money in their pockets. And so God knows where that money goes once it goes abroad.
Is there a way you can advise us on how we can start a defense contractor so that we can get some of this money? I mean, we're in the wrong business.
Preserve the stability.
To answer that question, no.
I get it. I get the liberal economic order. It was the least worst system. They were like, look, we don't want another world war. What Hitler did was horrible, and there should have been oversight to prevent the guy from going genocidal and territorially conquering. So they set it up. And for 70 years, we haven't had a lot of border conflict. More or less, you got the USSR shattered. You've got some stuff in Bosnia, obviously.
But remember
this is very incorrect.
But this, it was the least. I mean, the other option was we didn't do it, and it was just inevitable that we would have come to blows with the Soviets.
I can pull up the list of 20th century conflict for you, but it was massive.
I'm just saying a lot of borders didn't change like they were before World War II. Like countries weren't being taken over, renamed. We've had a little general stability for 70 years. Horror of war persisted with Vietnam, all sorts of things. But we need something better now. I just don't want a world economic fascist technocracy. Were you going to say, Dennis?
Well, we moved towards a one world econotechnic system. But look, instead of one great war, which we could still have for those who are interested in war, if you're out there and you want a great war, we've got people in our government right now who are looking to expand war in the Middle East, looking to expand a war with Russia, and would love to have a war with China over Taiwan. Now, I would submit that while we haven't had the Great War again, we've had what the writer Celine would call death on the installment plan.
Yeah.
Explain.
Well, all these go back to Iraq, Libya, the war that's been percolating in Syria. We now have Yemen.
And all these wars are at least 1 million people.
But if we want to keep going back, I mean, Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Well,
we can go back further. You've got you had conflict in Europe, but you've got obviously
Bosnia,
the Koreas.
Argentina.
Right. You got the Koreas, Vietnam, very obvious ones.
Lately, we've been saying, like, when did World War III begin?
Israel,
Is World War III this, that? I'm like, maybe we've just been in 100-year war. And it started in 1914. It started in 1913 when the Federal Reserve took control of the country. Basically, they set us off into the Great War. Then it went just parlayed into World War II.
That's
then the Cold War. Well, let me finish. Then the Cold War was just an extension of this global conflict arms race, and then now Afghanistan. It's like the U.S. has been the belligerent for the last 30 years.
No, because you're talking about stuff that is really, especially when you're talking about World War I and World War II, it's really focused in Europe. Like what happened with World War I was like the end of like feudalism and figuring out which way like a lot of the former kingdoms were going to go. And then World War II was, arguably because of the way that the Treaty of Versailles treated Germany after we didn't have to have World War II. We didn't need but anyways.
I would clarify that and say I think that was how Hitler was able to rally people by saying, oh, look at us, we victims.
Absolutely.
But you had a guy whose brain was fractured.
100%.
Who was seeking to gain power.
100%.
I suppose you couldn't have, just generally speaking, probabilistic without the Treaty of Versailles. But I'm reluctant just to say it was Treaty of Versailles that led to World War II explicitly. I think, but I think largely it's correct.
That's fair. But the point stands. It wasn't a lot of times. What it sounds like you're articulating is that it's the U.S. focused, and I don't really think that it's the U.S. focused as much as post World War II. Yes, because the U.S. was left really standing after Europe just annihilated itself. Like it was decimated after World War II. So I think that the global order that the U.S. kind of established in resistance to the Warsaw Pact, that definitely was the U.S. But when it comes to like World War I and the first half of the 20th century, I mean, that was a lot of change from feudal systems and older systems, coming into essentially basically catching up to countries that started the Industrial Revolution earlier than they did.
And I just want to say, you said we didn't really have the wars after the liberal economic order and all that.
Didn't have a lot of border changes.
Yeah, the list of wars is insane.
It was limited.
Here we go.
It became limited.
Here we go.
The war became limited. Yeah. But like this is what you're saying. Death on the. How'd you phrase
installment
it?
plan.
Yeah, death on the installment plan. Welcome.
Holy crap! Look at these.
It was Henry Kissinger called it limited war. A lot of it is like you don't want to bomb the capital of the enemy. You don't want to bomb Moscow. You don't want them into Washington. So you fight in these proxies.
This is just 1945 to 1989. How many are here? Look at this.
Is this all U.S. war?
No, it's global conflict.
I saw this,
and this is just from 45 to 89, and then we got to jump down to a whole different page to go from 90 to 2002. And then it's a look at this. Yeah, I mean, bro.
Gotta laugh.
The liberal economic order has done nothing to prevent these wars.
There's no control.
If anything, they've been a party to massive wars.
But it could have been way worse. Like we could be with sticks and stones right now.
What you're talking about is if there was nuclear proliferation, and so granted there wasn't nuclear proliferation because of the United States and the Warsaw Pact. But the United States and the Warsaw Pact had all sorts of proxy wars going on, whether it be Charlie Wilson and the CIA's war against the Russians in Afghanistan in the 80s, or whether it be any number of other proxy wars or U.S. involvement in local wars or whatever. That stuff has been consistent since the end of the World War II.
My question, I guess, for you, Dennis, is like, if we were to dispel the liberal economic order, because they want to make a new world order. They're tired of this liberal one. They want to make this new world order. They keep talking about it since the 90s. Is there a way to do it, make the world more peaceful? But I'm not just talking about peace, because if you completely obliterate the surface of Earth, there will be peace. That's not the kind of peace I'm looking for.
Actually, you were mentioning the World Health Organization and sovereignty.
Yeah, I want to talk about that in a minute, but put a bookmark at that. Okay, I want to.
So do you think there's an evolution of world order that could be much more peaceful, much more liberty-minded, freedom-minded, with U.S. ideals, free speech at the center?
Well, let's look at where we are in the United States right now economically. Remember, I offered the observation that you have to have that unless you're secure economically, it's going to be very difficult to be able to protect political freedoms. So what's happening in the U.S. right now? Real wages are going down, rents, cost of housing going up, cost of cars going up, cost of used cars going up, cost of auto repairs going up, cost of food going up, cost of utilities going up, cost of child care going up. Americans are drowning in debt. The interest on auto or credit cards for the average American family is about $6,587. Mortgage about $6,764. Cost of child care going up. Used to be 7% of a family budget. Dealt with child care. Now it's 24%. Housing cost a few years ago, 21% of median income. That's just over a 10-year period, 21%. Now it's 41%. The economic pressures that are on American families right now are extraordinary. And in this period, the FISA extension arises, okay? People are riveted to their own economic well-being. And I'm saying that with the economy being difficult for very, very many Americans right now, there is an erosion of political liberties simultaneously.
I've visualized evolving our fuel system because I think a lot of it relies on the cost is going up with the fuel.
Of course it is.
And so if we could incorporate hydrogen fuel, I've talked to this graphene scientist, Jim Tour out of Rice University, said that our methane production lines you can transport hydrogen fuel through them. And so they figured out how to make hydrogen and actually make money. Rather than spending money to make hydrogen, they'll take carbon trash, they put it in a vacuum and hit it with electricity, 7,000 degrees, they pulse it with this thing called flash joule. Let me finish this off for Dennis really quick. And then it gives off hydrogen fuel and you get a byproduct of this stuff called graphene. It's black powder, pure carbon. You can use it for building materials.
Are there technological evolutions coming along that would change the source of people's energy? Yes, but right now, here's a headline from a major newspaper: higher gas and rents keep inflation elevated. Okay,
and there's something simple to be said about the strength of corporations internationally. If you are of the opinion that there are international corporations controlling our political system, what do you think happens to the guy who says, "Hey, I've got a revolutionary new energy system that will displace the current"?
They usually kill him, but I don't want to displace it. I don't want to displace it. I want to keep using the oil and turning it into graphene. I mean, so we keep using. We can even improve. We can increase our oil production and increase our coal production and turn it into this stuff.
Right now, we have all of with the technology to solve all of our power problems currently exists, and they're using it in France. You can look at the way that France takes care of their power problems and the way that Germany takes care of their power problems, and you see a significant difference because France in the 70s or whatever, was it 70s when they started doing the nuclear program? France went nuclear in the 70s, and when everything was kicking off with Ukraine and everyone was talking about the pipeline that got blown up and stuff, France wasn't worried about it. Germany was terrified. Germany was worried about the cost. Germany was worried about where they're going to get power from, how they're going to do it, blah, blah, blah. France didn't worry about it because France is like, we got nuclear. And France has a modern electrical production facility or system in their country. And the United States could do that, but the United States has been implementing policies making it extremely difficult to open up new nuclear power plants. And if we change that, we can greatly decrease any of the negative effects of significant increases in gas prices or oil prices, because oil is going to be something that we need all the time because oil is in everything we make, everything we use. It's
plastic,
everything.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.